What is up, everyone? Welcome to Cardinals Aftermath featuring the fan and the professor. I am Joseph. I'm the professor, and the man over here is
so weird,
Daisy
dude. You're not
Sports Fan. I know. Mike Daisy Sports Fan. Mike, how the heck are you today?
Hey, man, I am doing fan-freaking-tastic. I don't even know how else to say it, but coming off, Victory Monday in the fashion that we whipped the Tennessee Titans, I'm very excited, having a very good day.
Yeah, man, I'm with you, dude. This game was like everything we could have asked for, I think, in a win. I mean, there's little things that they can improve on, but I don't think you could have asked for a better week one performance. So yeah, man, this is a good day to be doing. The Cardinals aftermath today is the aftermath of the pieces of the other team. Hopefully the aftermath is not pieces of our heart out on the floor other
100%,
weeks.
100%.
But yeah, for those of you who are here with us, so we've moved the show to my channel for the time being, and we are rebranding it as Cardinals Aftermath, featuring the fan and the professor. It's and we're going an hour later. It's the same, it's the same show for the most part. It's the same takes you love from Mike and the same tempered responses you're used to from me as we try to kind of find that really nice middle ground between our two perspectives. So thanks for joining us here, and this is a good day to start and a good way to start the week. So what we're going to do is Mike and I are going to go through some topics we prepared, and we're going to talk about a little bit. Mike's got that newborn baby at home, and I just appreciate that you made the time to be with us. So we're going to do about 30-40 minutes on our topics, and then I'll stick around and do a Q&A. If anyone wants to stick around and talk Cardinals at the end of the show. But we're going to jump right into it. And what Mike and I have kind of prepared to talk about is starting with what did we learn? And I know Mike did a video on what he learned, so he's got some thoughts on that. I did a video on some observations. So it's going to be a little bit along the lines of stuff we've talked about, but maybe a few other things as well. Mm-hmm. So Mike, I'm going to let you start. What is the first thing you learned from this game?
Yes, awesome. I love starting because I know you have some great stuff over there, man. So I'll give you one, and then I'll shoot it over to you just so I'm not taking all the good ones. So I'll go ahead and start off here by saying that J.J. Watt and Chandler Jones in our defensive line can be freaking elite. Let me tell you, I mean, they're already really darn good right now, but if we can remain the health between these two players and the other people we have on our line, sky's the freaking limit for this defensive line just in general. So I love it, man. I'm very, very excited that this outcome became the outcome that we saw. Like leading it to this game, obviously, we have our channels, and I've seen a good amount of Titans fans, some of them respectful. So I want to make sure I say that up front. There's some very respectful Titan fans out there, but a lot of them came up to me and talked crazy. But, being as respectful as I am, I can't really say anything because of our history. So right. I let the Cardinals do the talking, and they saw a great dose of Chandler Jones. 5 sacks. That's all I got to say. You go.
I got to tell you, I'm on the same page with you. In fact, number one on my list, I'll just read it as it was. The J.J. Watt and Chandler Jones pairing is everything we'd hoped it would be. Right. So that was number one on my list. And so I completely agree with you. And J.J. Watt freed up Jones to do a lot of the wrecking he did. And I don't know if you saw, there was this great kind of mic'd up of J.J. Watt. I don't know if you saw that they had posted. And man, he was doing everything you wanted as a leader. He was praising Jones, telling him you're the man. And he's being exactly what you want. So yeah, so I'll go to my next one. Byron Murphy Jr. is ready to be a number one cornerback. From what we saw in the preseason, he looked good. He looked good in this game. I sent out a tweet about his PFF grade. It was in the upper 70s, and some people kind of, didn't like that. They thought it was too low, but he had 2 dropped interceptions. So if he had made those interceptions, he'd have, but he looks solid, man. So, one of my predictions was that he was going to be a top 15 cornerback. And that's looking so. It's only 1 week, but it's off to a promising start. So,
Oh yeah, 100%, man. I
yeah.
think he would honestly continue this his good, like being very good as long as we can stay healthy in the defensive line, because man, as long as they're in the trenches wreaking havoc, quarterbacks are going to make mistakes and he should be there to start cleaning it up, and he did look very good. So definitely, yeah, great take there. I think he is ready to take the number 1 role in a heartbeat. And top 15, we'll see. I'm excited there. Now, let me talk a little bit before I take my to the next take, if that's okay. I remember when J.J. Watt was brought into the Arizona Cardinals. And there's a lot of people, not a lot, but there's a few people that kind of chimed in and said, well, here we go. Here goes another Terrell Suggs. But man, no. J.J. Watt is nowhere near the Terrell Suggs that just wanted to come here for the money. J.J. Watt wants to be great. J.J. Watt is a great leader, and we saw that here. You can't compare it. You can't. This is a beautiful duo that we've been dying to have in the desert. Love it.
Yeah. No, Watt has more in the tank than still, and also he plays a different position than Charles Suggs. Where they're both pass rushers, but Suggs was that outside linebacker. And to be honest, I know it's a little bit schematic here, but like with the outside linebackers, you need them to be able to do a little more in coverage from time to time, drop back a little bit.
Sure.
And the Suggs's biggest problem with us is he really couldn't do that. And the other linebacker role, that is the one that Chandler Jones occupies. So he his ideal role was the one that was already held down by Jones. But Watt, because he plays on the interior defensive line, he's playing a different spot. But I think he also has more in the tank. So it's a much better complement to Chandler Jones than Terrell Suggs was schematically. So
100%.
So that was I gave the Byron Murphy one. What's your next thing you learned from here?
I learned that we still need to clean up penalties. I think there was a moment, I think our very first possession, we had like 4 back-to-back penalties. And I've made a little segment in my live stream, just kind of making fun of the refs, because sometimes they're just like, they suck, they're blind, and all that. I think there was some of them that were valid from the Cardinals, but man, every second we had 4 in one possession and just alone, or just in one drive. So it's really sucky to see. I think we had total 7 penalties. I'm not sure if you have that number with you, but I think it was a total of 7 penalties throughout the entirety of the game.
Yeah.
It was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot. So I would love for them to kind of clean that up. That's really my only, I have a couple other little negatives, but that's my big flaw, in this game. There was a lot of good, a lot of great, but a couple little things that I feel like we need to clean up. So what did I learn? My second thing is we still need to clean up some penalties.
Yeah, it was encouraging to see that they seem to clean them up later in the game.
True.
And so, there's this question is that the Cardinals still being the Cardinals as penalty prone, or is that just that rust that we needed to knock off because we, didn't play our starters much in the preseason.
Right.
We didn't get that third preseason game. So, the hope is that was our rustiness and that we got through it and still had a dominating win. What we don't want it to be is that it's a lingering problem. So that's yet to be determined, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I could only hope that this is just going to be because, preseason. And we had a show before, I was all freaking out. Oh, why not? But, man, I'm going to slap myself in the mouth right now, man, with how they looked. Oh, my God. Just the excitement. I don't think you even understand. I couldn't sleep on Sunday. Having a newborn baby, not sleeping. On 30 minutes of sleep I had, I stayed up, bro. I don't know how I did it. Craziness.
Wow. Well, I've got to get in here and say mega thanks. Wow. Back to construction with a super sticker. Thank you so much. And so I have my little thing, and I saw you started doing kind of your.
I did.
I like that, man. I love it. But so here is my. All right, there's my thanks to you. Thank you so much for your super sticker. Back to Constitution 1. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. So man, so 30 minutes sleep. That's That's rough. I remember those days with
Oh
with
man,
kids.
I was just so hyped up about Sunday football, man. I couldn't sleep. It was
Mm.
so crazy.
Yeah, for sure. So the next thing that for me was that Christian Kirk still has an important role in this offense. Because there was a lot of question about, we didn't see him in the preseason, which I actually think that meant that there was a role for him. I think I've said this before. If you don't see players much in the preseason, it usually means the team has made up their mind about that player. It could be a good thing or a bad thing. Like with Michael Manet, we didn't see him in that second game because they knew they were going to cut him. With
Right.
Christian Kirk, we didn't see him much. And that seemed a little curious because he wasn't a guy like Nuke Hopkins that we knew was like the guy. And there was some questions with Rondale Moore coming in, AJ Green. What was his role? But I wasn't shocked that he still had a role in the game because of the fact that they didn't play much in the preseason. I looked at it and I thought, you know what? As much as us on the outside look at that, say Christian Kirk, maybe last year of his rookie deal, maybe he's on his way out. They don't, and we both, I think, said that we don't know that they're going to re-sign him. If he plays like this, they will. And clearly they have an important role for him in this offense. So that was my big takeaway, is that the rumors of his demise are greatly exaggerated.
I agree. I could definitely piggyback off that just a little bit here. That's not my third one, but I can definitely give kudos here where kudos need to be given. Christian Kirk had a really good game. 5 receptions, 70 yards, 2 touchdowns. And the touchdowns were pretty entertaining. I'm not going to lie to you. One of them with a teardrop, kind of looking up, grabbing it, kind of reminded me a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. Beautiful. And the other one, he had to contort his body to make sure he caught that ball. Loved it, man. I love what I've seen from him. I think my biggest thing that I want to see from Christian Kirk is just consistency. We don't need 2 touchdowns. I'm not going to blow a top off, next week if he's like, oh, no, 2 touchdowns. If you can give us 50, 60, 70 yards a game, maybe a touchdown every 3 or 4 games, freaking cool. Honestly, that type of production I seen from Christian Kirk was what I was expecting from AJ Green, and we didn't really see it. So imagine when AJ Green gets involved. Woo! Yeah, sky's the limit, man. Sky's the limit.
And everyone talks about the basket catch, and it was a great catch. It's tough. It's a tougher catch to make than it looks like, I think. And it was an amazing play and throw by Kyler. Amazing. But I tell you, I was probably as or more impressed by that back shoulder catch.
Yeah,
because that's the kind of catch a bigger receiver makes. Nuke Hopkins, AJ Green, those are the guys you expect to get up there and make that back corner. That's the Jordy Nelson special. You know what I'm saying? The big receiver back corner. And you got this guy is he 5'11", 6 foot?
I think 5'11", yeah.
Yeah, and 5'11", 200 pounds, and made that big boy catch, right?
Yeah.
So absolutely. So what's your next thing that you learned?
I learned with the unfortunate loss of Kelvin Beachum. He ended up going out for the game. I think we got an update today. It was a rib injury. He's day-to-day. That's all really much they gave us. I think our offensive line is darn good. I think we have the depth that can maintain, greatness when it comes down to our offensive line. So that's my third takeaway when Justin Murray came in. And obviously Josh Jones. So Josh Jones moved to right tackle, and
he stayed at right guard, didn't he? I thought
he stayed in right guard, and we had Justin Murray going the other side. Okay, cool.
Yep.
I'm sorry, not the other side, but the tackle.
The right tackle, yeah. I will tell you, Johnny Venerable put a text or a tweet out there saying, "Watch for him to go to the right tackle." And unless I'm wrong, and I'll check the snap counts on PFF at some point, but yes. I thought he stayed in a right guard, and someone else tweeted about that. But Murray has played guard and tackle, right?
Yes, exactly. And that's what I love. That's what I love is just the depth that we have with the offensive linemen that can do it both. Because you never know what's going to happen when it comes down to it. So my third takeaway, our offensive line depth is really good. I know we have, Winters as well, kind of waiting for his opportunity, which I don't really foresee it happen. Hopefully we can remain healthy, but Rodney Hudson, man, just a big focal point in that offensive line along with DJ Humphries. So I'm just excited, man. The depth is real. I love our offensive line.
Yeah, we've got, Justin Murray has started at 2 positions for us. Brian Winters has started a lot of games in this league.
Mm-hmm.
And then Max Garcia has started in Denver for a while. So we've got guys with starting experience as depth. So I'm with you. I was pretty high on that offensive line, and I felt good about the depth. So when Beachum got injured, obviously you don't like to see it. Yeah. Beachum's a great player. I love having him there, but I wasn't like worried about what that was going to mean on the field because I knew Justin Murray was going to be able to come in there and not miss a beat. So
it's amazing, man. Yeah, it's a good feeling.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a great take. My next one, and I'm probably going to be stealing one that you had on your list because I think a lot of people talking about this guy, but Isaiah Simmons is all systems go in this defense. Last year, he didn't play all the snaps. There was a lot of question, him getting acclimated. He is fully integrated and all systems go as a full participant in this defense who is going to be on the field a lot and is going to be making plays everywhere.
It's a beautiful thing, man. And with him doing the positions, another take of mine, only trying to seclude him to the, that middle linebacking spot. Let me slap myself again. I seen him. I saw him in the edge. I was watching the game. I was like, oh, he's lining up in the edge. Cool. I don't care what you want. This guy was balling out. Whatever you're doing, Cardinals, Vance Joseph, defense, I don't care. Do what you need to do. Isaiah Simmons with an INT. Now, Budda Baker was trying to go for that INT. He knocked him on his butt because he's obviously the bigger dude. But I'm so glad Isaiah Simmons, because let's be honest, Budda Baker is going to get his own. He's going to get his interceptions.
Yeah, man. I hate to say I was right, but I think that was kind of my take is, how they're going to use Isaiah Simmons. So some of my predictions are starting to look good. Isn't
that a good feeling?
Yeah, it really is. Because, my predictions were all pretty optimistic. So if they're looking like they're trending the right way, then that's a good look for the team. So what's your next thing you learned?
I think those are my three.
Okay, awesome.
Yep, I think you're the last one.
I stole a little of your thunder too. Okay, I came with extra just in case some of mine and some of yours were the same. So I'm gonna give a 2 for 1 because there's 2 of them I really like. Okay. The first one is Kyler Murray makes throws that maybe 2 other quarterbacks in the league can make. Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, and he's better at making those throws than Lamar, and he's better at moving than Mahomes. In fact, he moves closer to Lamar and throws closer to Mahomes when he's on. And then the other one, and this is my Mike special. This one is just for you, buddy. I prepared this one just for you. Ready?
Go ahead.
Cliff really can be the play caller we hired him to be because I know you love Cliff, and I know it's a love-hate thing right now because you want to see him succeed.
Yeah.
But you probably don't love being, eating crow on that one if he does. But I get it. I'm sure you'd rather see him win, but
100%. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, we've talked a little about this before we started the show. I feel like, and I think you said it best, the Arizona Cardinal fans are snake bitten. And we feel betrayed. We feel like we were having such a good year last year. And the way that it flipped, somehow, it clouds your mind. It really puts you in a negative headspace. And it really kind of, you start talking about all these crazy stuff. He's not the guy. But this is one of the first games that I've seen that you can probably say this was a staple mark of a Cliff Kingsbury game. This is probably one of his best, coached games that I've seen in a very long time. Last year, we had some few ones. Well, we did. I'm definitely not going to discredit anything from last year, but this year, on all sides of everything, defense, offense, hey, I'll even throw special teams in there. This was all cylinders go for this team, and we just looked darn good.
Yeah. The offensive play calling, I think, was the best he's shown in his time with Arizona. Yeah. And, he needs to keep it up. But this is, and I get it. Like some of his play calling got a little vanilla at points. And, the question is how much of that was based on personnel and or injuries. But this is what we saw, what everyone told us he was supposed to be. And we finally saw it. And if he can keep this up, again, maybe Michael Bidwell is going to look pretty smart for hiring him and taking a chance on him and being patient with him. So we'll see. He's got it. It's 1 week.
Yeah, exactly.
So awesome. Okay. So the next topic I want to talk about a little bit is who surprised you? Who surprised you in a good or bad way, in terms of players that you didn't see it coming, whatever it was they did, good or bad?
Yeah. I'm going to take an easy one real quick for my first one,
Yeah.
and I'm going to say Kyler Murray.
Okay.
And I know what Kyler Murray was, but this was a different level of Kyler Murray. And you talked a little bit about it, about, your last take, being that, there was only a few quarterbacks that could be making these type of throws. And we seen Kyler Murray the way that I'm so glad the national people are finally seeing what we've seen, the little flashes of. But man, he's made some amazing out of the pocket running, scrambling, and just making some beautiful stuff. Now, Rondell Moore was the guy on the left-hand side that caught that ball, that he made their defensive line, the Titans defensive line, look silly. Like,
Right.
legit, this was like, kids in, like in grade school, like running around, and, we have this really good one that does some good jukes. That's what it looked like. And he found them, threw it, and it looked beautiful. And that's not even to mention the DeAndre Hopkins in the backfield. It was a really good catch from DeAndre Hopkins, but that was also another good throw from Kyler. So very, very surprised how this game turned out from Kyler.
Yeah, and everyone's and I've watched that throw to Rondell Moore probably 3 or 4 times. People put clips of it on Twitter, and it's crazy just the way he moves around, his movement, and then getting the throw was not an easy throw. There were some defenders there. He got it in a good spot, and credit to Rondell Moore for making that catch and getting the right position. And then obviously the throw to Christian Kirk, both of them, both of those touchdowns, the back shoulder, but that bucket catch, it was running back, and then but you look like Murray's throw was back on his heels, but he knew what spot he needed to get to, and he just lobbed it up there, right, like a fallback fadeaway basketball shot, except it was over the football. But I think because he had those amazing throws, a lot of people aren't talking enough about that throw in the back of the end zone, the one you referenced to DeAndre Hopkins, and what he had to do to get open for that, because that was it was a little bit reminiscent of the Hail Murray in terms of the scrambling piece of it. It wasn't as far, and the catch wasn't with 3 defenders, but getting open like that. Those 3 throws are the 3 throws I'm like, Mahomes can make the throws, can't quite move like that. Lamar can move like that, and on a good day, maybe make some of those throws. But Aaron Rodgers can make those throws, but he doesn't move like that. It's the talent is crazy. So yeah, I'm going to go with, so you went with a positive. I'm going to go with maybe one it's not as positive, but it's not the worst. But I was surprised we didn't see more from Zaven Collins. I thought he was going to be in there all game. He had, I think 20 something snaps, and Hicks played quite a bit. So that surprised me. He played well when he was in there. He just didn't play a lot. So that I expected to see him all game, and then obviously though it was Simmons that we saw all game, and not Collins. So for me, that surprised me.
I could definitely, I would have loved to see him a lot more too. And I think if we would have gotten a loss, we could have been talking about that. Like, oh, why, this and that. But because we dominated in such a high fashion, they came out with a game plan, and they felt like these were the best people available. And hey, they showed the heck up. Zaven Collins did clean up a job. I think JJ Watt ended up getting Derrick Henry on the legs, and Zaven Collins came and made a really good tackle on Derrick Henry, which is really good to see, because man, I love his pursuit. I love his physicality. I love everything that we've transpired from our defense. One thing to kind of talk about just real quick, our defense, man. This is the defense that I've been wanting to see for a long time. People that are not afraid to tackle, people that are not afraid to put their nose in there and basically take somebody down. I'm going to give kudos to Budda Baker. Although he's not the rah-rah guy, this guy is a lead by example, hits you hard. I don't care how tall you are type of guy. And I think it's circling around in the secondary, Marco Wilson, and everybody else that's in there. But yeah, sorry, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, agree. Was there someone else that surprised you?
Somebody that surprised me. Marco Wilson. Just it's so crazy because like this game, it was so hard to see any like real negatives, with the exception of your David Collins was a great take because it was more of a you're kind of disappointed that you didn't see him. Not so much it was a really negative, but you were disappointed that you didn't see him very much. But Marco Wilson, man, this guy looks freaking good. I think he tackled some. I think it was a running back. There was a pass like out of the backfield, and it was something minor, but it prevented a fourth down to be converted. And I love his physicality, man. This guy gives no F's. You know what I mean? And he puts his heart and soul in this game. He loves football. You can tell. I love what Marco Wilson brings to the table.
Yeah. I absolutely love it too. I was glad to see he held up so well. And, the pass rushing helped that a lot, obviously. But, they defensively, the cornerbacks, and I mentioned this in my video, that one touchdown was not on any of our cornerbacks. It was Jalen Thompson actually covering AJ Brown with Budda Baker giving some help. So the cornerbacks held up. And I would say if I had to give one more, maybe as much as I was optimistic about the cornerbacks, I was surprised by how well they held up. I thought they'd be better than most people thought, but I didn't see it. I thought Murphy would be really good, but I didn't see this, right? Like this was insanely good.
And that's the thing, man. Like optimism, like our mind has changed. Like when we had our last, our fan of the professor, we went from we might take the L to both of us saying, "Oh, we will, we'll win." You know what I mean? We're being super positive and being very optimistic. But we held like a small spread. We did not imagine this as Cardinal fans. Nobody would have said that we would have smacked them silly. Now that's making a lot of people, oh, Cardinals, have you seen them? Get out of here.
Well, we were talking about this little before we went on air. The perception and like you said, we talked about being Cardinals fans being snake bitten. And, when you look at it, this team on paper, in terms of the skill players, Nuke Hopkins, arguably the best receiver in the league, right? Kyler Murray makes those throws that few others can make and has been good. I mean, he offensive rookie of the year, took a step forward. Yes, he didn't take as much of a step forward in his second year as some people had hoped. Got banged up, but he still has been good. He has the arm talent. He has the mobility. We have Chandler Jones, one of the best 2 or 3 pass rushers in the league. We have Budda Baker, arguably the best safety in the league, if not the best. He's one of the top 2 or 3. We have J.J. Watt. We brought in pieces. We brought in Rodney Hudson. Our offensive line is better than a lot of people realize. On paper, the ceiling for this team is really freaking high. Like this team, its offense has the potential to look like they did, during the game yesterday. Their defense has the potential to look like they did. But because of the way last season ended, right, backing our way out of the playoffs, losing to third-string quarterbacks in games we should have won, we can't let ourselves believe in that ceiling. And I get it because we don't want to be hurt again, right?
Yeah.
But like I've always kind of taken a tempered optimism, but I'll tell you, like I've always had in the back of my mind, the ceiling on this team is to be in a class with, the Tampa Bays and the Kansas Cities in terms of their offense for sure. That's their ceiling. Now they haven't earned that yet. I'm not going to say they're in that class, but with their skill players, that's the ceiling. But none of us could bring ourselves to embrace that because of the way last season ended. And this first week gives us that hope to latch on to and say, you know what? That ceiling we see for this team just might come into being, right? We're still going to be a little cautious, right? We don't want to get ahead of ourselves and believe our own press clippings, as they say. But man, the ceiling was there, and this is a sign that we have a chance of maybe, reaching it. So, man, that optimism, it feels good. but
100%.
I'm like you though. I'm not the kind of fan who wants to go bragging and talking smack before we win anything,
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of one of those things too. Like I feel like those fans, they have the fan base that's like, solidified, so we're not quite there yet. Obviously, we're always going to be optimism about our Cardinals. I've been born and raised here. So although it's kind of like that meme, it's like, you're super angry. It's like that cartoon where he's like super angry, but he also has like that umbrella like covering the the Arizona Cardinal logo type of stuff. Like that's me in a nutshell. Like legit, I could be pissed off in the corner crying, but I'm always gonna be like, I got you type of stuff. So like that's really my relationship with this team.
Yeah, for sure. One other thing I want to talk about, and I know we'll let you get out of here because you got that baby who needs daddy time. So, and I didn't put this on kind of our topics to talk about, but there's what do we still need to work on? And I've got a thought, but is there anything you see besides those penalties? And if you don't have anything, I've certainly got something but is there anything besides the penalties you think you'd like to see us, work on going into or moving forward?
Yeah, the penalties were the big one that I had. You give me yours, and maybe I can get my brain juices flowing.
Yeah. So for me, I actually think our running game didn't look stellar. It was okay. I think our run blocking wasn't always the greatest. I think Connor actually looked better to me running the ball because he actually made something out of nothing a few times where he looked like he should have been tackled for a loss and got 2 or 3 yards. Again, we our running backs finished with a little over 100 yards combined. It wasn't horrible, but I didn't think, for as well as we were playing in other facets, I think the running game can improve a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I got Chase Edmonds here, 12 carries, 63 yards. James Conner, 16 carries, 53 yards. So Matt,
like 116.
Yeah. Yeah, Connor 16 carries, 53 yards, and then Kyler Murray 20. Obviously, we're not counting his.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is kind of something where you kind of talked about it a little bit on our one of our earlier ones, saying something along the lines of like we're gonna have like that running back by committee, and it seems like it. We gave a fair dosage of to Chase. We gave some more to James Conner. Surprisingly, I thought Chase Edmonds had more carries, but looking at the stats, James Conner had more carries, and I'm actually happy about that. I love the physicality from James Conner and what he brings to the table. I love Chase Edmonds. Please don't get me wrong, anybody. I love what he brings to the table too, but I'm actually happy that James Conner, although has less yards, he's had more carries. Maybe we can get his feet going, and he can give us that physicality.
There's still a legitimate question as to how will Chase do in this role, because he looked good in previous years, but he was also running in later downs when he didn't have those stack boxes. And Connor's a little more accustomed to that. So we'll see. Yeah. And I know Jordan P saying the running game looked great to him, to be honest. I mean, it wasn't horrible. There were just a number of plays where it looked like the blocking could have been better. So this is maybe splitting hairs to me, and I know Mark Jackson's so maybe I'm imagining things, but to me it looked like it could have been better. But again, when you have a game this good, you gotta try to find.
Yeah, exactly. Like legit, the negatives, you have to kind of, it's a needle in the haystack at this point. That's what the negatives are for this game. And it's also kind of a different look because we're not really used to the running back by committee. You know what I mean? We've seen David Johnson carry the workload. Even when Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds, we've seen Kenyon Drake a lot more than Chase Edmonds. So it's a different look. But by golly, if it's working, keep doing what we need to do. Because, hey, Kyler Murray with 20 yards, 5 carries, I love it, man. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and that he didn't have to do more running, and the running he did was effective, right? That touchdown, which was can we real quickly talk about the megawatt formation?
Oh my goodness, bro. I love the name. Let me just start off with that. I love the freaking name. Licky Fotu, JJ Watt. It completely tricked everybody. Legit, everybody was like, they're going to come this way. Kyler Murray loops around, comes in the beautifully done.
Yep. Yeah, they're going to be really difficult in the red zone to stop because James Conner's a good red zone back. You got AJ Green, who's a big receiver, Kyler Murray, what he does, and then if the play calling like that. So, yeah.
I know one negative, if that's okay with you.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna steal it from my guy Simon on the comments. Tight ends. I didn't see very much. I mean, like I said, it's splitting hairs. It's needle in the haystack type of stuff. But tight ends really didn't show up. I mean, it is what it is. Maybe a little bit more production, maybe being more of a safety blanket for Kyler Murray. But man, Kyler Murray made some amazing throws that I'm like not even thinking of tight ends. That's my one negative.
Yeah, the tight ends were like 0 for 4 on targets. They had the 4 picks, so it wasn't good. And we knew the tight end was going to be a weak spot.
Yeah.
I haven't been too worried about the tight ends because, as Ian's saying, we don't use tight ends. I think we're gonna run this offense with our tight ends not really being big receiving threats, and I think it's gonna be fine. That's I'm not worried about that. Yeah,
needle in the haystack.
Yeah. So, Mike, I know we want to respect your time. Is there anything else you want to mention, talk about, or say before we let you go? And
I just honestly want to say the fact that we're finally on the receiving end and not getting our butts whipped is a good feeling. It is a good feeling, and I think Cardinal fans should really hold their head hell high in this Monday. Whether you went to school this morning or work this morning, this Cardinal team looks really good. And I'm not trying to gloat too much and be too we're gonna go to the Super Bowl. I still don't think we're there yet, but man, we are looking so darn dynamite that I can't wait. Bring on week 2. That's all I gotta say, man. Bring it on.
Right, man. And the Vikings are they're hurting. So here's hoping we can put them out of their misery in week 2. Well, this is Mike, the AZ Sports Fan. If you're not already subscribed to him, go check out his channel, the AZ Sports Fan. It's not in the comments, but I will get it down there. I'll set up with the links and everything. But the AZ Sports Fan, you can find him on YouTube. Follow him on socials. And Mike, I appreciate you being here as part of the show. We'll do this again next week and hopefully have the same kind of optimism.
I agree, man. Next Monday is going to be even better.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace out, man.
All right, I'm going to stick around, and I'm going to stick around for anyone who wants to do some questions. We'll stick around, and as long as you have questions or comments, we'll talk for a little bit. And then go from there. So I know there's probably been a lot of live streams, so maybe we're all live streamed out. But does anyone have any questions or comments that they want to get out there? And I'll just get this. Ryan from the comment. One negative, the amount of time it took our offensive plays to develop. I don't know. What do you think? Yeah, that's a good point, Ryan. And I talked about this in one of my streams that some of those offensive plays where you had Kyler kind of moving around in the backfield, like fake jet sweeps, fake handoffs, and Kyler moving around, and a lot of motion. Those things are good for fooling defenders, but the concern is if they're taking that long to develop, is that mean Kyler could get hit, right? So. There were a lot of those plays where I saw defenders running around past Kyler and Kyler moving around, and a lot of traffic, and kind of worried me a little bit, right? So yeah. Mike, elbow cuff. Yeah, right. All right, the dab. I got you. All right. So thank you, Mike, for being here. Appreciate it. Have a question. What was your opinion on Marco Wilson's debut? Marco Wilson's debut was solid. He graded well. His name didn't get called, and when you're a cornerback, that's actually usually a good thing if your name's not getting called. So I thought he was solid. I think he made a couple nice plays. I think Byron Murphy Jr. had a better game, but they both had really good games. I was very encouraged. And when you take into account the bottom line production, the fact that they shut those receivers down, overall, it was outstanding, right? Lennon Wolf, the AZ Sports Town, I feel like we're going to be a very good team that's going to win the division and make the playoffs and Super Bowl. We're going to be champions, including the Phoenix Suns. Here's hoping. Man, it's really optimistic for sure. There's a lot of reason to be optimistic right now. I loved what Vance did on defense. I've said all year I want Byron to stay in the slot, and he did. We put Marco and Alfred out. Yeah. And I really like that defense. Everything about the defense play was really, really good. Rushing the passer, stopping the run. I've talked about this a few times, Jordan. I did a video about how they're going to use Byron Murphy, and it looks like they're doing what I thought they would, which is, when they're in the 3-4 defense, when they don't have slot corners, it's Murphy and Alfred, and when they're going to those nickels looks, or and they bring in this. They're going with the slot corner. It's Alford and Wilson outside and sliding, Murphy into the slot, and looks like that's what they did. So yeah. All right, world peace. Good to see you here, buddy. After first quarter, huge fest, all those penalties and everything. Cards performed the best in years. JJ Watt mic'd up. Yeah, I saw that, and that was awesome. Hyped all the players the entire game. Huge for the maturity of the team. Man, that's why his play, JJ Watt's play was solid. But when you saw that mic'd up, you see that's one of the reasons you bring him here. That leadership and get, I mean. And he said he's not a big ego player out there. If you watch that mic'd up, he is telling Chandler Jones, "You're the man. I get to play with Chandler Jones today. I'm excited. Jones, you're the man. You're making like." He was going up to Isaiah Simmons, telling him, be great. He was building up these players and acting in what we call deference. He was putting himself second and saying, "You're the star. I'm here to support you." JJ Watt was doing that, and because he's accomplished enough, he can set aside that ego. Man, loved seeing that. Absolutely. Assuming we commit to paying Chandler Jones, what kind of contract do you think makes sense? Should he the highest paid, same salary as his younger comps? That's a great question. I'm not completely up on the contracts for pass rushers. I feel like they're kind of in that 18 to 20 million is kind of the high end. Tell me if I'm wrong, but but as far as is he going to be at the top? I think so. Here's what I think. I think if he gets a shorter contract, like a 2-year contract, they got to pay more, right? That's kind of how it works, especially with a veteran like this. If you want a discount, you got to give them a longer contract because they want that longer contract security for when their play maybe deteriorates a little bit and they're still getting paid that security, so to speak. So I won't say for sure a number because I'm not really up to speed on exactly what that number is for the top, but I'll say if they re-sign him for like a 2-year contract, I think he's going to be one of the top 2 highest paid, edge rushers probably. If they go longer, like 3 or 4 years, he might give them a little bit of a discount, and he might be, then in the top 5. That's my best guess. He's not giving this team a discount, especially after the way it played out. I'd be really shocked if he did, and he shouldn't. I will say, and I on Twitter I kind of tweeted this out. A mea culpa. I was in the camp that said we need to see him play. And I didn't want to commit a lot of money to him, but boy, did he showed out, and I'll eat crow on that one. They should pay him, and I'm all for players getting everything they can. They only have a limited window. The league makes a lot of money. I never begrudge a player for wanting to get what they can, and so I think he should get paid. And if he doesn't get paid here, he'll get paid somewhere, right? Yeah. You believe that the trenches played well in O and D. That's where the game is won. I mean, that's a philosophy a lot of people really subscribe to, and boy, it looked like they did. Right, that offensive line gave Kyler time, and that defensive line, put pressure on the quarterback, and sacked the quarterback and stopped the running game. And you can argue that really helped those cornerbacks, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Chris. After this game, you say it's going 13-3. I was or 13-4. Yeah, Mike and I were talking about this off air before. Is like going into this, I think he and I both had this as a 10-17 this year. And that was part based on that perspective of seeing this team in the past and just kind of being snake bitten. But when you see that okay, this team looks like they could play closer to that potential. Now the stakes are higher, right? Or now, like I'm with you. I think this team, if this game, even if this is our best game, right? But if we can play 80% of this well, right? In most weeks on both sides of the ball, if this is in that range of what we can do and we can play up to that potential, this team went from being a 10-win team to, a 12 to 13-win team. Now it's still a tough division, right? So that we've got to put that, into the equation, but it's looking much more optimistic now for sure. Penalties were again a huge problem. We also ran down the play clock way too many times. Do you think it's caused some concern? Last year suffered from the same problems? That's a great question and comment. And I think we might have talked a little bit about this earlier, but absolutely, they had to call some timeouts, to stop the clock, to prevent the delay of game. They had some penalty issues. But that kind of settled down as the game went on. So I am hopeful that this was just that rust that they need to get off. We'll see next week. If it happens again next week, it's something that they need to work on, and I'm concerned about. If they don't have these kinds of problems next week, then I'm pretty confident it was just that rust. So yeah, I mean that's one of the things you look at, but it's also encouraging that despite that, they settled down and had a dominating game, right? What Jay said to Simmons is why he's worth every penny. He's ensuring confidence to these young guys. I got chills from absolutely, Jordan. When I watched that, man, that was like, yeah, that was, I got chills from that too. That was awesome. That's exactly why you bring him in. I mean, and his play is outstanding. And he helped free up Chandler Jones. They couldn't double team Chandler Jones all the time like they used to. So even though Watt didn't get the sacks, his presence made a huge difference, right? You say not the top paid edge is 20. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So that's a big contract. Yeah. We'll see. Right. They might not, I don't know. I mean, my fear is that they're going to go the franchise tag route, and that won't make him happy. So we'll see what's going to happen. Right. Got to try and sort that contract out soon because it ain't going to get any cheaper. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's that price tag went up quite a bit just after that game, right? Absolutely. There were a few plays in the red zone. D-Hop had one-on-one. K didn't even look at K1, didn't look his way. Definitely think that has to be a concern. Your thoughts? It's one of those things. Things went so well, it wasn't a problem, but could it be a problem in the future? Perhaps. I don't know. I mean, I think I'm not overly worried about it with what we've seen from Kyler thus far. He's shown an ability to be a pretty good passer, move this offense, and in the red zone, even if they don't get, he doesn't always get those looks. This team was really good in the red zone last year. Kyler Murray's really effective. So I'm not going to say it's a big concern for me because this team has so many ways to score. James Conner is a really good goal line back. AJ Green, although we didn't see much from him in this game, is a big receiver who's really good in goal line situations. D-Hop, we know how good he is. And Kyler, what he does, it's going to be a situation where defenses are going to have a really hard time knowing, being able to stop all those weapons, right? So for me, it's not a concern at this point, but we'll see, right? I don't want him to play with a division rival. Yeah, Chandler. Yeah, right, for sure. Were you surprised by Zane Collins on the field? I was, and I think we talked about this a little bit. That surprised me. I thought he would be on the field a lot more. I guess someone said that they thought it had something to do with the game plan and the way the game flow was going, or maybe that they were a heavy play action team and they didn't want to, they didn't want to have a rookie out there as much. I don't know if that's the case. I think we'll see more of him later. I think they're committed to playing him a lot, so I'm not worried about it. But I was surprised for sure. After that performance, tough to ask any questions, but what do the Cardinals need to clean up before we face the Vikings? Yeah, good question, Calvin. And some of this we have talked about a little bit, but absolutely. The penalties have been brought up a few times. We have to make sure that that's not a recurring problem, right? I think, and some people disagreed with me, and that's absolutely okay. I think we need to do a little bit better job of being able to establish the running game a little bit better. In my opinion, it wasn't bad. We got over 100 yards, total combined. So it wasn't horrendous. I just saw some plays where it seemed like our run blocking wasn't doing as well as it could have been. So that's my take. The interception from Kyler, that want to clean that up. There were a couple sacks, so there's little things to clean up. The penalties are probably the biggest one. We got to make sure that doesn't become a problem, and the clock management, that kind of worked along with that. So if if those things can get cleaned up, I mean, what would have this, if we didn't have all those penalties and stuff, what would have the score been? It might have been, 47 or 45 or something. So yeah, that's a good question though. You're saying, okay, I think the Cardinals are predicting Collins. Yeah. Okay. You don't want to get a posterized by Henry. Maybe. I mean, that's interesting. I wonder if they thought, because obviously that with Isaiah Simmons, that Raheem Mostert touchdown against San Francisco, really in his first game against Isaiah Simmons, certainly was not a good look. And, did that affect his mindset and early on and make him struggle? Or contribute to his struggles? I don't know. So maybe they were trying to protect him, but I don't know. This defense was doing so good against him. Like Collins was in early, and they kind of didn't have him playing as much later, and they were already kind of shutting down that running game. So I don't know if that's it or not. It'd be interesting. I would love to hear Vance Joseph's kind of take on that, and maybe someone will ask him. Right? That's fair, but I feel like really he really needs that experience regardless. He makes mistakes. Another question: how do you feel about the penalties in the first half? Was it rest or something else? Okay, and so we've talked about is it rest or something else, but I will say, what do I think? I think it was rust. I think they didn't have that third preseason game. The starters didn't play much in the second preseason game. Tennessee had a lot of penalties too, so the rust was on both sides. They cleaned it up later in the game. They settled in. I think this team has gotten rid of some of the big kind of offenders when it comes to penalties. Patrick Peterson, Dre Kirkpatrick. They improved the center position with Mason Cole. And, you didn't see like a lot of PI flags, right? So the cornerbacks did a pretty good job. There was maybe one or two, maybe. I don't think there were many. So I think it was Russ. I really do. We'll see, but yeah. How much of an impact, if any, do you think Jordan Phillips will have this season, considering D-line played well without him, but he gained very solid DT for the Bills with 9.5 sacks? I mean, if he gets healthy and he plays, he might get a couple sacks and might help. But I'm not a big believer in him as like, I think I'd rather see Zach Allen play. Those 9.5 sacks were a little fluky. If you look at some of the advanced statistics, like, one of the things they look at with like sacks is like, okay, what percent of how many hurries do you have, right, or pressures, and of those pressures, what percent of them are sacks? And his sack rate was really high. It was kind of an outlier. He was more efficient than is typically sustainable. And I know not everyone loves PFF, but I tend to think they have decent data, and his PFF grades have never been great, even in that season. I don't think he'll be to me, he'll be a rotation guy. I don't think he's as much of a difference maker as that he might look like on paper. Yeah. I've been wrong about things though. So who knows, right? Cliff getting hot on the sideline screaming was the best thing I saw all day. Finally, some damn emotion and passion. Here's to hoping we get a new Cliff this year. Yeah, I mean, it was nice to see that, right? It was nice to see Coach Bro become Coach on fire, right? Yeah, I mean, it was nice to see the passion. It was nice to see the play calling. So absolutely. Yeah, you can't always go with D-Hop talking about the question about the missing him in the red zone. Spreading the ball is how you win games. I'm not worried about K1 not looking D-Hop. That's generally how I feel, right? I'm not worried about, we'll see, right? I have a feeling that one-on-one that Hop got but wasn't given the ball were due to what the progression on the particular plays. Remember how big Kyler smiled on that one-on-one WL last season? Yeah, and I will say, like, I try to always keep in the back of my mind is that we don't always know what's going on behind the scenes, right? We don't always know what we look at something that looks like a mistake, and maybe there was a good reason for that. And we can be critical and we can talk about it, but I try to at least keep in the back of my mind that the guys on the sidelines and the guys playing this game know a lot more about what's going on than I do. And so I always leave open that I try to be careful about not, questioning every little thing they do, but that doesn't mean we can't ever be critical. Love the good Cardinals content. Thank you, Lennon. I appreciate your support, man. I appreciate you being here all the time. You are a great Cardinals fan. I rewatched the game, and when Phillips comes back, he's going to be a huge addition. Lawrence was terrible at DT and getting Brown around, has zero pass rush. Phillips is a huge man, offers pass. I mean, maybe, yeah. Lawrence, when he's in there, he's more that nose tackle who's a little more the run stuffer kind of, role, and that Corey Peters also plays. He's not really a pass rusher. We'll see. I mean, maybe they do put Phillips in there, and rotate him in there and makes a difference. I'm just not a big believer in him, but obviously I could be wrong, right? CJ Henderson, Marco are friends. What would you offer for him? Right now I'm not trading for him. And we talked about this a little before the season, and I wasn't big on trading for CJ Henderson. There's a reason that he supposedly was available. He's a former first round pick, but he hasn't graded well. Do you want to I feel like there are guys on the practice squad or guys, you can bring in who are probably going to give you comparable to what he might give you, and you got to integrate those guys in. I'd rather roll with the guys who are already on our roster practice squad and have been practicing than try to bring someone else and integrate them unless that person is a legit stud. So I wouldn't want to give up a draft pick for him. I mean, if they'll take a 6th round pick, but they're not going to do that. I don't think. I feel okay about our cornerbacks. I think they're going to be fine. So I'm not doing that. I think this team, and I don't think they're going to do. I think they like the team they've got. Sure, Keim, if he can improve the team, he's always looking to do that. But if the right opportunity comes around, but I don't see this as something to do. Watch the trade happen and prove me wrong, right? Oh wow! I want to just take a moment to thank the Carolina Crown. I got okay. Why every time we beat a contender, nobody wants to give us credit. They say we won because they played bad, not because we good. Scratching my M and F and head, right? I mean, listen, I hate to play the kind of big market bias, East Coast bias with the media or whatever, but listen, I mean, some people are giving the Cardinals a little bit of props, but at the same time, so much the story often is, there's a lot of part of it is because, until you do it consistently, people aren't believing it. But people are hesitant to believe that the Cardinals are for real. And yeah, I mean, it's the story. A lot of the story is what's wrong with Tennessee for a lot of places, but I guess we got to do it more. But you know what? I'd rather be a little bit of an underdog and prove everyone wrong, than be fool's gold and never have everyone buy into us and then not do it. Right. So, but thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Great question. And yeah, I'm with you. And of course I want to say to you, a big thanks. Thank you. Yeah. Hopefully we'll start getting hopefully we will start getting some, as the team will start getting some respect though, right? Marco and Byron, incredible game. Marco laid the wood a few times. All respect to Pat P, but we now have a man corner who isn't afraid to hit. Love to see the Byron develop into the top cornerback. Yeah. Listen, Patrick Peterson has fallen off last couple of years. He hasn't graded well. In years, he's a penalty machine. Someone I was talking to or messaging, I think it was actually a couple of people I've seen talk about this. It was Kyler Bird from the Cardinals Conversation course. And if you aren't subscribed to them, check them out. They're good dudes. He was on a guest on here. And he talked about older cornerbacks that are used to being elite, when they start losing some of those skills or they lose a step, they start, getting a little grabby and may get flagged. So Man, our cornerbacks right now, I think, are better than the version of Patrick Peterson we had the last 2 years. Now, does he have a resurgence in Minnesota? Maybe. I think he's still talented. Mike Zimmer's a good coach. It wouldn't shock me if he had I think he had a grade in the 60s yesterday, so it wasn't great. But yeah, I would tell you, even with the Marco Wilson injury and everything, I really wouldn't want Patrick Peterson back on this roster right now because he doesn't tackle as much as they would like. He gets too many penalties, and he's on that downside of his career, and he would have cost more than the guys. He would have cost more than Alfred, and then what Malcolm Butler cost us, right? Although obviously he retired, but so he would have taken up a bigger part of our our salary cap, and I just don't think he would have been as good as he has been. So yeah, I'm with you. Murphy was outstanding, no doubt. Do you think the league undervalues him because he plays slot and not more premier outside cornerback position? Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think, now this year he's going to play both, and I think as time goes on, he's going to start getting some buzz, and they'll talk about him if he has games like this. But yeah, I think it feels like when people talk about our cornerback room outside of Arizona, when people talk about how bad the cornerback situation is with Alford, and is he coming with his injury history, and we're relying heavily on a guy who hasn't played in 3 years, and and then Malcolm Butler retiring, and then we've got a rookie Marco Wilson. It feels like the forgotten man in that conversation is Byron Murphy Jr. I mean, people generally say, well, yeah, he's a slot guy, he's whatever. Like, they really don't talk about him enough. And he just, again, that forgotten man. And I keep remembering, now, you know what? This guy was a 33rd overall pick. So he is a early second round pick who could have been a first round pick. So there's a pedigree, there's talent. Struggled his first year because he had to play as a number one outside corner when Patrick Peterson was suspended, and that was a bad defense anyway. And rookie cornerbacks struggle so often, and he got better second year in the slot, and it like that natural progression. Him being a good number one cornerback or decent number one cornerback, that wouldn't be a weird thing, right? High draft pick. Couple got better each year going into his third year. That narrative isn't like that makes sense, right? So absolutely. So let's see. I rewatched the game. Phillips we already talked about that. Sorry. You were concerned about not taking advantage of the one-on-ones because of the plays resulting in the passes in a game, but I get the point as well. You think, yeah, man, this I get you. Like, there is this perspective from this one perspective that you want to take advantage of every opportunity, and if you miss an open guy, that's a missed opportunity, right? And this time it worked out, but next time if you miss that guy, is it in a game you lose? So I understand, like, there is this. Like, even when something is going well, you want to always look for ways to do better. So I think you bring up a good point in terms of that's a thing the coaches will probably look at, and they want to, and if they can fix something so he doesn't miss that look, absolutely. So I think you have a good point there. Is the question of am I concerned about it is no, but I think your point has some validity there, right? I would never be a bandwagon. I'm local in my team, always Cardinals fan. Okay, cool. Awesome. Why every time we beat it? Oh, okay. Oh, that's the same. Thank you. Yeah, said that in the super chat as well. Peters and Dogme Flash are really good news for us because we wheeled to see other players not named Watt and Cheer play. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Dogby played really well at points, and Peters looked good. Yeah, absolutely. And with a defensive line like that, a lot of times what you want is sort of a stable of guys that you can rotate to keep them fresh. When they had back in the early 2000s, the New York Giants had some really good defensive lines, and they had a stable of guys they rotated and kept them fresh. And those big guys get worn out when playing in the trenches sometimes. It's a physical place. So having a guy like Dogby and Peters that you can rotate in there, and Fotu and guys that you can rotate to give a spell to guys like JJ Watt is really helpful, right? Oh, you needed to see that you corrected it here. Yep. Okay. Do you think that we totally have a good offense? Well, it looked like it. And I'll tell you, man, that in my 50 predictions video, that one prediction that the Cardinals would have a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense. I mean, it's only 1 week. We aren't there yet. We got to do this over time, but it's off to a good start, right? So I think I think that we've got the players to have good offense and defense. Yes, absolutely. He was ready to see D Hop expose Patrick Peters next game. Also, I have a question regarding Christian Kirk. Do you think we see him take the step as a number 2 receiver? Okay, I am ready to see D Hop make Patrick Peterson look bad. I don't totally hate Patrick Peterson, but the chirping and stuff, and I mean, I get it. He doesn't like the way it went down, and he probably has some valid points about the way Keim dealt with him. But stuff like that happens all the time, but not all players, kind of go public airing that dirty laundry. But I want to see that happen. If nothing else, it validates that the Cardinals made the right choice of moving on from him. What do I think about Christian Kirk? Do you think we see him stepping in at number 2 receiver? So when you talk about number 1, 2, or 3 receiver, it depends what you mean by that. Like, if your number 1 and 2 receiver are defined by your outside receivers, right? I think that's going to stay Hopkins and AJ Green by the X and Y position. If you're defining number 2 receiver as the guy who gets, the second most targets, I could see that. I mean, he looked really good. I think they spread it around a lot, and I think they're going to spread it around a lot. I think Nuke Hopkins is going to get most of the targets. And I really do think they're just going to keep spreading it around. And maybe he's going to be that guy who gets in those, he and Rondo Moore are the fastest 2 receivers of the 4 that we expect to see a lot, right? They're both faster than Hopkins or AJ Green. So some of those big plays, Kirk, seems like a guy who will get some of those, and Rondo Moore eventually as well. So I could see that happening, him being that. I didn't think it would be. In my predictions, I had him, as kind of that 4th guy in terms of yards. And, he showed that he had, like we talked about earlier, they still have a role for him for sure. Peterson costs more now than Byron, Alfred, Barkley. Yeah, see, that's exactly my point. Thank you, Jordan. Yeah. Those guys, I think right now Byron plays as a better cornerback in terms of where he's at his career. Listen, at his peak, Peterson was better than any of those guys are right now. Peterson was great at his peak, but he's past that, his prime. Now the upside for these guys, we'll see. But Patrick Peterson was a rare cat. I mean, his physical skills were off the charts in his early career. We forget that sometimes. But yeah, I mean, I'd rather have Byron Murphy, right, and Alfred and Marco at their price. And yeah, I think they're gonna. I think for sure. I hate to say for sure. I think Byron Murphy and Robert Alford will have a better PFF grade at the end of the season than Patrick Peterson, and Marco Wilson hopefully will, because he's a rookie. Have to maybe hedge that a little bit. But yeah, Adrian Green was playing hurt, so that left Kirk more open. Not do I think that Kirk played well? Yes. He did make some moves, but I still think Green. Yeah, AJ Green number 2. I think they're going to be committed to AJ Green in that role. They targeted him like 6 times, I think, and he had like 2 receptions. Green didn't have a great game. 6 targets, 2 receptions for 25 yards. Green didn't have a good game, but when you have 4 solid receivers like this, not everyone's going to have a big game every game. So, they spread it out a lot. Hopkins had 6 receptions. Kirk had 5. Moore and Edmonds each had 4. AJ Green had 2, right? So, and I think we'll see a lot of that aside from Hopkins. Hopkins will get the most targets, but I think they're going to spread it out a bit. Only problem for him was we were forcing him outside when we have AJ and Kirk. his natural position in the slot and looking. Okay, so to more about the receivers. Okay, let's talk about the refs not calling the PI Rondo Moore, who got grabbed clearly and would have had that TD. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It happens. Yeah, I mean, I get that there are some egregious plays. I don't talk about the refs a whole lot because I think in the end, you get plays that go for you, calls that go for you and go against you, or non-calls that go for you and against you. I mean, there was one touchdown, I think, throw where at least the commentator, said that they thought that that the Cardinals got away with the holding, with a hold on offense that wasn't called. And, so I'm not gonna, I mean, yeah, should have been called probably. Would have been nice if you got that. It took a play away from Rondell. But I try not to get too caught up in that stuff. But, I don't disagree. We also probably got away with a few, that's usually how it works out. Some of them we don't always see, especially, there's holding on so many plays it doesn't get called. So, yeah. Our D-line depth is crazy underrated. Almost everyone flashed. Yeah, they lot of good players playing well. I think we've got some nice depth there, right? Got Fotu and Lawrence, who are guys on the bench that are rotation guys. Dogby, man, yeah, I think I agree. I think there's some solid depth. But yeah, you say, and so you're saying you mean number 2 as a number 2 go-to guy, which I figured that's what you meant. So that's why I kind of started with, well, by position. Or so do I think? I mean, he was the number 2 guy today. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, here's the one argument for that, or one of the stronger arguments I think is, you've got Hopkins, who's now second year in the system. He's the guy. And then you've got, though, a couple new guys, right? AJ Green, Rondell Moore. They're both new, right? Rookie and a veteran coming in. And Kirk has been in this system, since, all 3 years, right? So he's more acclimated. He has a role in the system. So I wouldn't doubt that, that he ends up being that number 2 guy. It'll be a surprise. I didn't see that coming, but I could see that. Yeah, absolutely. Prediction score from the Cardinals, Vikings 38-17 Cardinals. What's yours? And then we've got 31-17 Cards. Ryan, we've got a few more predictions. 27-6, 28-21. And okay, so I hadn't really thought about a prediction yet, and I probably should. I think the Cardinals offense, I think they're going to score a lot still. I think their defense is going to play well. I do think we're going against a good coach in Zimmer, but I think that, the team I don't think the Vikings are, I think they lost to the Bengals. I'm not a believer in Kirk Cousins. I think Dalvin Cook's a really good running back. Cornerback room is suspect. I think it's going to be probably somewhere in that, 34-17 range. I kind of like that as a score. We'll see, right? Will Patrick Peterson get booed or cheered on his return to AZ? The answer is yes. that's I know that's a cop-out. There will be some cheers and a lot of boos. I think, here's what I say. I think there will be more boos than cheers. Because of, because he's been kind of chirping a little bit on his podcast, and, and because of the way it's not like he left, it's not like it was just like Calais Campbell, right? That guy left on good terms. We wish they would resign him. They didn't offer them a contract. He didn't go out with any kind of bad blood, and he's still really beloved, right, by this fan base. Patrick Peterson had the PED suspension. He had the trade request that he walked back, and now he's left. And then he's been chirping. And then the tweet, when Malcolm Butler retired, and he had that tweet with the really poor grammar, that I guess it shouldn't have been Ward, whatever Ward means. Like, basically, like we don't know what's going on in Malcolm Butler's life. It's probably something personal. And he's like, whatever he's going through, like we don't know, but like Patrick Peterson's taking this chance to tweet and like talk about how, well, I guess he shouldn't have wore my number. I think fans are kind of, I mean, and I'll tell you, like, well, the thing I'm seeing from some of you, and I'm seeing from comments on my videos, I'm seeing it sometimes. The thing I'm seeing is fans want, like, going into this game, fans want to see Patrick Peterson, get burned. They want it. So, Mark, thank you for being here. Appreciate that, man. I appreciate all your support. So yeah, I think they're gonna boo. I think fans are a little not happy with Patrick Peterson, right? Viking O line's horrible. I mean, listen, they traded for Mason Cole, right? They traded for our center that we didn't want. Right now, I don't think he was starting for them, but like they traded for him. That means they wanted him. They thought their team would be better if they added Mason Cole, right? So yeah, they're rough. So that could be a really, really, Chandler Jones could feast again, right? Absolutely. Got another Tucson 3110 cards. Pat has become a drama queen the last few years. Didn't have the production to back it up. Yeah, I mean, I understand that he's not happy about the way things went down, and from things, I get it. I think Kime probably doesn't always deal with players as straightforward as he should, and there's something there. But this kind of stuff happens all the time, and other players don't air that dirty laundry, right? Or it doesn't have the protection to back up. You corrected your statement. Yeah. So, yep. I'm hoping JJ and Chan can cause some havoc in their backfield. We should be able to dominate them on all fronts. I agree. So, we got another comment. Titans have a top 10 O line, and we did that. Vikings line is much worse. The D line needs to produce. Yeah. I mean, that Titans offensive line is good. I looked at them before. Like, they're a solid offensive line. Now, Taylor Lewan, and I give him credit for what he said. I think he said, like, he set his ego aside. He's like, he basically came and said that he thanked Chandler Jones for exposing him, because I forget exactly what he said, but basically it's like he needed to be humbled, or he needed to be shown that he had work to do, and he appreciated the lesson, right? And hey, I respect that. Now, but Taylor Lewan, I think, was a little banged up, or not up to 100, was not 100%. So their offense line was not at full force, but it's still better than the Vikings. And I tell you, I went into a Vikings stream with some guys. I'm supposed to maybe do a record with something this week. We'll see if they're supposed to email me. But anyway, I went into this Viking stream and just kind of observe what they're saying, and they're worried. Their fans are not. They're not talking like, oh, we're going to go win against. They're like, oh, we're probably going to lose against Arizona. A lot of them. So. But we need to, not like what we think as fans matters, but the Cardinals need to not believe their own press clippings, right? They need to get prepared, and they need to go into this next game, because if they talk about trap games, so absolutely. All right. So Kyler said, he said, I won't let this team get complacent. Yeah, I love it. The leadership, right? He's not going to let them get complacent. And that's what you have to do, right? Absolutely. Any final comments or questions? We've been going for an hour and 20 minutes. There's a good number of y'all still in the stream, but I know it's a weeknight. So if anyone has any last thoughts or anything you want to add, throw it in there. We'll get through that, and then we'll wrap up relatively soon. What should we look out for on this Vikings defense? I mean, they've got a couple of decent pass rushers. I think they've got a good safety, right? Smith, I think. Let's see. I think I had the Titan, or this Titans. Let me look up the real quick. Look up the Vikings lineup here. They've got Harrison Smith, right? He's a really good safety. Their cornerbacks aren't great. Peterson, Bashad Breeland. So they've got, Everson Griffin, who's a good pass rusher. Sheldon Richardson, veteran. They've got Danielle Hunter. I guess it says they have him listed. I thought there was an issue with him, but they've got some pass rushers. They've got, Eric Kendricks, a good linebacker. So they've got some decent players at positions. Obviously with them, you worry about the running back and receivers. I've a couple people have said this. The Vikings are built in a lot of ways very similar to the Titans. They have a quarterback who does a lot of play action passing, right? Cousins and Tannehill are both big time play action pass quarterbacks. They have a couple really good receivers in Thielen and Jefferson, and they have a really good running back. Now, he's not as big as Henry, but Dalvin Cook's really good. Now, their offensive line isn't as good, but their defense is similar with questionable cornerbacks, a few decent players. So it's interesting. This team is very similar. This is like a poor man's version of the Titans. So maybe maybe it'll be a really good game to follow up on because we're kind of already prepared for this kind of team. I don't know. So yeah. Let's see. I think they are bought in this year. Yeah. Okay. Yep. The team. Yeah. What is your prediction for NFC West? Okay. It's changed a little bit, I think. I mean, all four of these teams looked good. I'm going to go with the bold prediction, and I might regret this. I had consistently picked the Rams to win this division. I'm going to say I'm going to go bold. I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to say the Cardinals are for real. And I think they're going to win the division. I might regret this, but I'm going to say the Cardinals, the Rams, then I'm going to say the Seahawks and then 49ers. The 49ers beat the Lions, and I don't think they're going to be a good team. And I worry about the quarterback situation. Well, not worry, it's not my team, but I'm not buying into the quarterback situation right now in San Francisco. So that's going to be my prediction. Again, I might regret it. Maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid a little too much. But I'm going to say Cardinals, Rams, Seahawks, and then 49ers. And I know anyone who's not a Cardinals fan who hears this might think that I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, and I get that. Okay. Yeah. Responding to kind of the question there. I think we'll see more Collins rather than Hicks this time around. Better matchup versus Cook versus Henderson. Yeah, obviously we want to see more Collins, and I think he played well when he played, so hopefully so, right? Yep, want to see him more. I really loved what I see from Connor. Should split carries with Chase. Keep Chase fresh. Sit from Jenkins with another dimension. Yeah, I mean, the fan base loves Chase Edmonds because we drafted him. And because when he's played over the last couple of years, he's flashed. And I like Chase Edmonds. I think he is he's an outstanding third down back, receiving back. And I think he's decent at running the ball. I admit I have my questions about whether he's that first and second down back consistently. So I think for me, if it were me, I think the best probably role is first down, second down is mostly Connor. Third down is almost exclusively Edmonds, and they mix Edmonds in a little bit on second down. But I think Connor's a really good running back. His health is the question, right? Paying me that NFC West team's ball out. Well, yeah, I mean 4-0, right, as a division. But we of all the teams played the best opponent, right? At least on paper, right? So I think the Cardinals win was the most impressive. But yeah, that's how this division is going to be. It's the best division, and I don't think it's close, right? How did Collins play yesterday? He played limited but well. He played I think it was 22 snaps. Zaven Collins, in fact, I've got it right here. Yes. 22 snaps. Graded, his defensive grade was 72.5 on PFF, which is pretty good. His run defense was really good, 90.2. His tackling grade was 78.3. His pass rushing grade was 54.8. His coverage grade was only 41.0. But yeah, he played limited but well. That's the most concise way I could say it. Limited but well. What do you think of the rookie's performance versus the Titans? So Rondale Moore looked outstanding. Yeah, he didn't have that one touchdown that we would have liked to have seen, but he had some really good plays, some really impressive plays receiving. I think Rondale Moore, what we saw out of him is what he's going to be for this offense. So he was outstanding. Collins looked good when he did play. Marco Wilson graded well and didn't really give up much, so he was really good. So those are the main guys. I don't know that. I don't know if I'm missing someone here. I mean, Demikaji, I don't even know if he played on defense. Well, was he even? Okay. He had 5 snaps on defense, grade 57.5. So Demikaji didn't play much. I think the other rookies are either on the practice squad cut or, Tay Gowan was not active, so he didn't play. But I think they looked really good. I mean, when you have 3 rookies all playing a noteworthy role and playing well in those roles, a starting cornerback, the third cornerback on the field, but it was on the field a lot, like Marco Wilson played 58 snaps, so he was on there a lot, right? And he didn't play as well as the other 2 cornerbacks, graded at 61.9, which is still decent. If you don't, I know people sometimes hear a PFF grade in the 60s, like, oh, that sounds that bad. That's like a D on a test. But if you look at PFF grades enough, you realize that a starter who has a grade in the 60s is kind of an average starter. So that's not as bad of a grade as it sounds like. So Wilson, you had a starting cornerback, more or less. You had Zaven Collins, didn't play a ton of snaps, but looked good. Rondale Moore looked good. I mean, this draft class, yeah, I think they played well. Played good when he was out there, like we said, yeah. Our homegrown talent has been better this last few years, maybe not playing necessarily well or super effective, but we started to see develop over the last years. Yeah, I mean, this has been the criticism of Keim, that his draft classes haven't been well. Last couple of years, it seems to be turning around. So here's hoping, right? Yeah, Prater miss was not good to see. So hopefully that doesn't become a pattern. Right. Do I play Madden? I do play Madden, but I don't really play online with people because, I play. I have the new Madden. I probably get my butt kicked if I tried playing someone, but I do play. I just don't really play against other people online much because that gets a little toxic sometimes and stuff. But I do play Madden. In fact, this will probably come as a surprise to no one because I do everything I do with a full nerd kind of approach. But like I love playing Madden and like playing GM, like building I know this is totally off track, but I will take a team that sucks like the Texans and try to totally trade away the roster and build them through the draft and play GM. That's my favorite thing to do on Madden. I know it's like probably not surprising to anyone that I'm totally nerdy like that, but yes, I do. Simmons flashed so much. He looked like an all-pro line. Yeah, he looked great. And I know the PFF grade wasn't as good as people would have liked. It was 62.9. He played a lot of snaps and he had some really good plays out there. And I thought he was everywhere. I was really, really happy to see him play, right? Skip it. Let me tell you, and maybe you've noticed this about me, I'm not a big fan of hot takes. I do a few of them on my 50, I did a few of them on my 50 predictions, but I'm not a hot take kind of a person. I try to take, so Skip Bayless is not my cup of tea, but he picked the Cardinals to win NFC West. So that means we're screwed, right? Yeah, exactly. Oh God, please don't pick us, Skip. Let someone we have more, we believe in more. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I hear you. Simmons. Yeah, Simmons was awesome. I think Prater's kick was pushed by the wind a bit. It's not like he shanked it. Yeah, I mean, Even the best kickers are going to miss some, so we'll see, right? Yeah, absolutely. Simon's like, that's how I play, man. Okay, Simon, do you simulate the games? Because when I'm doing a team like that, I'll like simulate the games and just do the player stuff. So yeah, I don't know, but I'll play a Cardinal. I'll do an actual playthrough as the Cardinals where I play them. But franchise stream coming soon. I don't know, man. I mean, maybe someday. I don't know. I don't. I'm not really a gamer streamer, and I'll tell you, during kind of the lull, when there's nothing going on in June and July, I did some Madden related videos and some predictions, and it was fun to try to predict the player ratings. And I think I actually got pretty close on some of them, but didn't get a lot of views. Like there were some people, handful of people who watch it, but I think when I look at like the audience on this channel, it's the primary audience is Cardinals fans, and then there's a subset of that audience that also plays Madden. But it wasn't, I mean, those videos got half as many views as my other videos. So I don't know that I'm going to be doing a Madden franchise stream anytime soon, Zeke. But yeah, thanks for asking. Keyshawn Johnson said Kyler's an okay quarterback. Derek Carr's in the league. This guy gets paid to talk about football. Yeah, Keyshawn Johnson was a good football player, a good receiver. I've never really been a huge believer in. To me, he's a little. He seems to be one of those guys who likes those controversial takes, and I just that's not my style. If you all have seen my videos and know what I do on this channel, I'm more about digging into the analysis, trying to get a good understanding of what's going on, and trying to be as unbiased as I reasonably can and data driven. And my lane, what I do is digging in, trying to understand what's going on, and try to get at the heart of things. I'm a data kind of person, and that comes from what I do as a living. I'm a sociology professor, so the way I approach this should not be surprising to anyone. But there are people who their job is to say provocative things, and Keyshawn Johnson, from the day, his book, just give me the damn ball. That was his book title, right? Guys like Skip Bayless, those guys, they make a lot of money giving hot takes. That's not my style. I don't like watching those guys really for that reason. So God bless them. Yeah. You do CPU versus CPU. If you want to get through a season, you'll sim. Okay. Nice. Yeah, he shouldn't be. Okay. Yeah, I mean, people watch. That's why he's on. I'm not really watching him, but people watch, right? When I watch Tampa Bay, I feel like watching Cardinals because they have all old coaches. Yeah. Right. Arians has brought in that much of that old staff, and I like Bruce Arians. So, I want us to be the team that's winning, but I'm glad he got his ring. I know he had some as an assistant coach. I like Coach Bruce Arians, and I'm glad he got that championship as head coach. Think he deserved it. Now, hopefully it's our turn, right? Keyshawn just wants people to tune in and see what crazy BS he's going to say. Give him a moment. He's not enough. Yeah, it's the Howard Stern. Like if you've seen the Howard Stern's movie, right? There's that great scene where there's this radio executive's like, people who tune into Howard Stern, this demographic, they tune into Howard. The people that love Howard Stern tune in for on average, however long it was. And the reason they say is, I want to see what he's going to say next. And the person asks, well, what about the people who don't like him? It's like, they tune in even longer. And the reason they do is they want to see what he's going to say next. Right. So there's a reason that there's a reason guys like Skip Bayless and Keyshawn Johnson are on TV. And the reason is because that sells, those hot takes sell, people watch it. Maybe they watch it because they hate it, but they watch it, right? So yeah. Have I ever met Larry Fitzgerald? No, I haven't. I would. I wish I. He is a smart, interesting dude. Like he is so interested. Like I've seen some like some like I think the football life thing and some interview stuff with him, and the guy is got this kind of spirit about him where he just likes to learn about stuff. And I love that, right? I would love to sit down and like just have coffee with Larry Fitzgerald and talk about the world. Like not, I mean, I'd love to talk football, but I'd just as well love to talk about, his views on what's going on in the world, So yeah. If Kyler improves intermediate passing, those occasional sloppy passes with bad footwork, he'll be the best quarterback in the NFL behind Mahomes and Wilson. I said what I said. Hey, going with the hot takes, huh? Dude, the upside's there. I mean, he, like we talked about earlier, there aren't many quarterbacks can make his throws. I don't disagree with you. I mean, that's the potential that like you have, like you've seen quarterbacks who have the movement skills before, like Michael Vick and Lamar Jackson, and Kyler is in that breed of kind of that kind of tier of movement skills, right? There's only 3 or 4 quarterbacks who've ever, I think, are in that same category, and he's one of them in terms of their ability to run. But I think like his ability, his arm talent, if he can, in terms of you see the throws he makes, he's better than Lamar, he's better than Vic in terms of his pure arm talent. I think Mahomes is probably better arm talent. Obviously, someone would say, yeah, no duh, right? But like Mahomes has got, generational arm talent. But Kyler hasn't lived up to that. But when you see some of the throws, right, that Kyler makes, you have to wonder, man, those look like Mahomes kinds of arm throws in terms of that arm talent. So I think it's absolutely possible. Is it really a hot take? Watson doesn't play more now, and he's clearly better than Lamar. Yeah, no, I don't think it's. I mean, I'm kind of maybe joking. That's a little bit of a hot take. I think that potential is absolutely right there, and I don't think it's really a hot take. If you said he was already there, then it'd be a hot take, right? But that's the potential. No, it's not really a hot take, right? What do I think about Connor? I like Connor. If he's healthy, I think he's a really good running back. He was really good in Pittsburgh. And if he can stay healthy, he's a really good running back. The only reason we got him on a discount is, I think, is injury history. So, but yeah, I like him. I thought it was a good signing when we got him, and we didn't pay too much for him. So yeah. Girlfriend's father's engineer, very well. Man travels the world for his work. One of the first class trips happened to be seen next to Larry Fitzgerald. Not a football fan. I'm assuming it was the West Side. Oh man, lucky guy, right? Yeah, to be able to sit next to Larry Fitzgerald and have a conversation. Well, we have gone an hour and 37 minutes. Thank you all for hanging out. It's been fun chatting with you all about football, Larry Fitzgerald, the world, Madden, and everything else. So yeah, Connor bringing the stiff arm when Henry couldn't. Yeah, that was a nice play. So we're going to go ahead and end. Thank you all. It was awesome being here with you. I look forward to next time. I look forward to being able to kind of follow up with the next Cardinals game and everything. So thank you. We will see you all next time. And peace out.